This week on LCARA HAMRadio, we're going to travel to McCreary County, southeastern Kentucky, for the McCreary County Gravel Rally, hosted at the Big South Fork Scenic Railway. Not only is our club involved, but 2 other clubs came out to help out. And boy, was it a lot of fun. A lot of work, but a lot of fun. Here's a tidbit. Well, it all started on a Saturday morning, and it was crisp. A little bit cool, but very, very nice weather. As you can see here from some of the drone footage that K5QF provided for the event, we had set up our emergency communications trailer. You can see the long antenna there on the bottom right poking up next to the colorful gravel rally car or truck there. And the drone footage we're going to provide throughout the video in spots where it makes the most sense. But there's Austin doing his thing. Folks, the footage that we got for this year's race there's so much of it, we had to cut pieces here and there. Remember, though, the reason we're out there is to provide safety. Communications is a must. This race cannot be held without the communications of those ham radio operators out on the course. This is a beautiful part of Kentucky that many times gets overlooked, and it's one of the reasons why the race is held here. But this is literally the headquarters at the Big South Fork Scenic Railway Station. This is commercial rail here, but there's also a scenic railway that you can take and see some of the beautiful scenery in this area. We've got another shot here. There's the general store. To the right, that is the pit area or the service area for the cars. We actually have people stationed in a tent out front of the general store there, and that's to ensure that those cars that come in or leave the service area or that information is relayed to the clerk of the course. So that's the service area to the right of the general store. To the left of the general store is where we were set up, and the clerk of the course and headquarters was set up at Heritage Hall. You can see one of the red buggies there that's going to be racing. And the green car there in the top. So as I mentioned, we set up just to the left of the general store as you're facing it from the road. And here's where we set up the emergency communications trailer. Clerk of the course, Bernie Obrey, standing there in the doorway, is checking in with net control. We've got an antenna up about 30 feet and worked out very well. Of course, we're trying to bring in radio communications from 3 far-flung areas of the county. Here's some of our folks inside the trailer helping to provide those comms. And there's AC4DM manning the station. Now, one of the things that sometimes doesn't come across well in some of the preparatory videos that we were showing you setting up the crossband repeaters is how mountainous this area is. And so Austin was able to get us some drone footage of stages 5 and 6 to show you this valley. There is a repeater, but it's 19 miles away. It just won't reach into these valleys, and that's why we set up our own equipment to facilitate the communications from this stage down in the bottom of this valley back to net control. And as you can see, all of these mountains and hills are high enough to block radio communications. So to get the rally started, KY4CKP and I took our vehicles to the top of a couple of ridges for stages 1 through 4. This is me traveling up to a ridge, and you can see I've already got the crossband repeater set up. You can see it's on a drive-on mast, and we're using the battery and the radio itself as ballast. And then I moved away from the crossband repeater so that I wouldn't overload the radio when I needed to communicate, if at all. This is a really simple setup utilizing commercial, or I should say consumer equipment running in crossband with the Comet GP3 antennas. We've done a ton of testing in the various areas to ensure that not only can we pick up the communications from down in the valley where the racing is being held, but also relay that communication all the way back to net control. Now this is at a second stage. This will be stages 7 through 10. We set up a crossband repeater up on top of a hill to also provide that communications. And this was a tough lug. We had to carry the batteries up there, plus the radio, the antennas, and so forth. So it helps to have a buddy. You can see the frequencies we're using there. We're actually using 2 VHF frequencies, one on the end of a stage and one on the other finish end. This is the microbeam antenna that we used on the finish end for stages 7 through 10. We didn't actually get footage on race day, but this was on one of our testing days just to show you what that antenna looks like. And it worked really, really well. It's very difficult to get radio communications on the far north end of stages 7 through 10. And the microbeam did us a really good job. Again, attaching that to Chris's drive-on mast pole there, and then orienting the antenna back towards the crossband repeater. If you haven't, go back and look at our preparation video, and we'll put a link up in the top right corner. Now this is Chris's location for stages 1 through 4, and you can see he's using his drive-on mast. He's got the pole there, and we have a GP3 in this instance up on top. Of course, Chris has got his Toyota Tacoma there all outfitted. He can go just about anywhere in that truck. But you can see the GP3 on top of that drive-on mast, and I used a very similar setup, and that way we could cover the begin and end stages, begin and start for stages 1 through 4.
Stage 2 start to net control. The first group of cars is going to be car 20 at 9:36, car 10 at 9:37, car 68 at 9:38, car 21 at 9:39, and car 74 at 9:40. KY4 CLB.
Ask Perry to look at his text messages.
Stage 2 start confirmed. Opening the course.
Acknowledge. Put him.
So once the course was open for competition, the cars got busy. Here we can see cars coming in on stages 1 through 4 towards the end. It's the actual ending part is around the bend there. Then they have to come in and check in with the operations person here at the end of the stage. Everything is documented. They have to have their sheets signed, and this information ultimately is relayed back to net control by the HAMRadio operators. Between this station and the HAMRadio operator was a second set of radios using GMRS. Here we're looking at Chris once again, and my truck, as we were getting ready to set up for stages 7 through 10. This is a crossband repeater that we put up on top of the hill here, and this crossband repeater will allow us to cover the end of stages 7 through 10 on the far north end of this stage. And we have a crossband repeater here with a Comet GP3 antenna. But on the other end will be the same drive-on mast setup, but with the micro beam from Compact Tenna. Now this is at the service area. This is in front of the service, the general store for service, and we've got several HAMRadio operators here keeping an eye and also checking in and out cars that may come in for service and letting the clerk of the course know about those activities. We actually had a fellow come up from the Plateau Amateur Radio Club to also help out at this station. Here we have one of our competitors on stages 5 and 6. Some of the cars took it nice and easy, and this is actually not the deepest water on this stage. I wish we could have gotten some video of the actual creek that they have to cross, but that gives you an indication of the conditions of the road and a little bit of water. Here's another competitor. This is actually a Jaguar. And then the drone footage here provided by Austin, K5QF. Getting this drone footage was really cool. It gives you a neat perspective on the speed of these cars. And you can see them drifting here and there on this gravel road. And yet another car coming through. We didn't have sound in this particular instance, but I've got a clip coming up that does have sound. But you can see how fast they're going through here. And here's one of the buggies coming through. Both types of cars were racing this day. So again, we've got some drone footage here, and you can see this from an eagle's eye view. There goes one of the red buggies through the stage, and what's wonderful about this particular view is you can see that this is relatively early springtime in Kentucky. The leaves are definitely coming out, but still not in full bloom just yet. But this gives you an indication of the type of road going through this valley and the trees on either side. Beautiful aerial footage here. And this brings the race, an interesting news perspective. Many times we're down on the ground and we don't get to see it from this bird's eye view, but this gives us an indication of the route that they're taking as well as the topography that they're racing on. Then we've got one more of these bird's eye views. This is showing why we're out there as ham radio operators. If a car has an issue, this has to be radioed in so that either a wrecker or the crew for that car can come out and help the driver and hopefully get back on the road, or at least get on to some type of a rollback and back to the service area. Without a ham radio, they wouldn't know where the car was or whether or not it needed service.
So we're down in the service area. They just finished a couple stages of the race, and everybody's coming back in to change tires, make minor adjustments. So we can look under the hood here. Good. Yeah, you welded it back in there when you deployed, but that possibly gets all in the rebind adjustment or whatever. Not all the cars are back down in here yet. We still have some up on the entrance up there. They're letting them in groups, keep everybody's time straight. So we got a couple empty spots down here yet. A couple cars broke down. They're on their way in. Everybody's in here right now working on them, gassing them up, checking them out, getting ready for the next leg.
So it's at this point, once they've come back into service, gassed up, maybe made some fine-tuning adjustments, they get ready to head out to the next stage. All of this is tightly choreographed.
Zero car to net control.
This is net control.
Zero car has completed stage 10 with no issues to report. KQ4 DKS.
Stage 10 start.
Car 68 at 19:51, 21 at 52, 74 at 53, 11 at 54, 53 at 55.
Stage 10 start. Acknowledge first 5 cars entered the course. KY4 CLB.
79 gauge, be clear.
Stage 10 finished to net control. I have the next group of cars is as follows for their start time. Is car 73 started at 1956. Car 46 started at 1957. Car 67 started at 1958. Car 25 started at 1959. And car 51 started at 8 o'clock. KY4CLB.
Net control copies.
And for the race, we had another amateur radio club come down all the way from Indiana. The Ohio Valley Amateur Radio Club assisted us this week. Here we can see some of the cards taking off on stage number 10. Again, those folks you see in those orange vests both work for the racing organization, and many of these folks were also ham radio amateurs. This gives us a view of some of the other buggies and so forth that are involved in the race. And at the end of every stage, we have a car, or in this case, the Suburban here, known as Fast Sweep. They're going to go through the course and make sure that none of the competitors have gone off of the route in need of assistance. Again, all of this is tightly choreographed, and radio communications is a must. Here we have some of the Indiana folks helping out in the orange vest, making sure that everybody signed their paperwork. And we also had one of the ladies there handling one of the nooks, which also is handling the times for each of the vehicles, the stop and start times. The 00 car is a really important car. This goes out on the stage before any of the competitors at about 70 to 80% of actual speed to make sure there's no obstructions, no limbs or trees have fallen, or any type of race obstacle. Some of us were hanging out at the MCOM trailer in between stages. Myself, Chris there, and I believe we had Dan there on the far right, and his wife came out to work net control on this day. It was such a beautiful day, great temperatures. In addition, we had again the folks working on the inside of the trailer. Folks, you can't do a race without good communications, and in this mountainous area, the crossband repeaters, the antennas. Want to put out a special thanks to Compact Antenna and the Microbeam, as well as Comet and the GP3s, and the various radios that we use for crossband repeating. Probably won't be the exact setup we'll do next year, but boy, we learned a lot. Also want to thank K5QF for the drone footage. Folks, get your clubs involved in these types of events. You'll just be amazed at how many skills you'll learn about just to be able to help out an organization. I'm KY4 BDP Brian for the Lake Cumberland Amateur Radio Association. We hope you liked the video, and thanks for watching.